Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ISCEA Student Chapter Egypt seminar on supply chain risk management and challenges in cargo delivery. I am Omar Hagras, the president of the ISCEA Student Chapter Egypt and your host for today's seminar. With our expert for today, Dr. Maha Al-Sheikh, who will help us understand this topic in more details. First of all, congratulations, Dr. Maha, for your new book.
Hello, how are you? I'm Dr. Maha Al-Sheikh. I'm from Jordan, and it's my honor to be with you. My warm greetings to the ISSCA student chapter in Egypt, to be part of this seminar, and my extent heartful to do this invitation. First of all, as a Maha Al-Sheikh, I'm a PhD holder. I'm now an assistant professor in a specialized sector supply chain management at Middle East University. This is a university here in Jordan. Uh, my knowledge and my expertise today is always about making a new dedication and understanding, a new understanding for supply chain in this dynamic after the whole crisis that we faced. Um, we are talking about today about the supply chain risk management, not only in specific field. It's about now the idea how to provide the idea or to understand the whole risks, the whole assessment of the risk, and the whole unique opportunity that we need to develop and explore the idea, our industries and our factories and our students. Today, I look forward you to, as participant, collect more knowledge before the information, because as you have uh, past or experience or past information from your academia journey, you have that knowledge to know that what is the idea of the risk management, why we are using risk management in our supply chain. So after three crises in 4 years, a COVID-19, Ukrainian war, and the Red Sea crisis, all of them as a crisis, as we can see, the world has seen quite a transformation. So absolutely today, after that math, we are looking for special or specialty idea into this question. Talking about the supply chain, it's not only moving about goods. So, unfortunately, when we talk about the supply chain, the whole idea or the basic idea or the general idea about the supply chain, it's only talking about the movement of goods, and which is wrong. We are not talking about moving goods from point A to point B, or from point A to point C, or to the final market, or to the final customer or consumer. We are talking about today about the simple logistic, focusing on the more strategic and comprehensive approach about supply chain, reacting the disruption, reacting the repetition of the companies, and the importance of the resilience and the flexibility within the all points in the supply chain. For that reason, when we talk about the supply chain risk management, we are talking firstly or initially about the traditional supply chain management. And I can identify the supply chain management as it's about goods and logistic, about understanding the whole product, about the context being uh, clear, being what is the especially location, special location, what is the market segmentation, what is the customer segmentation, and why we are using this product. For our system supply chain approach, we have many problems, especially in the processing, especially in managing the whole problem that we face with the supply chain. In identifying supply chain, we can use the idea of how to understand the potential risk. So, as you can read the supply chain box, you have to read how to grow up your commerce, how to improve your logistic, how to engage with the world global trade, how to develop the security of your goods, of your vendors, of especially if they are individuals, especially if they are groups of people. How can you face the challenge that we face with the other safe shipping, with shipment security, etc. You can read here in the first slide that we face something called about the supply chain is part of the global economy. Um, Unfortunately, when we talk about the global economy, sometimes we are talking about that economy is not part of management, which is wrong. We cannot separate the economy and we cannot separate the management. Both of them are part of our global trading, and you have to give the supply chain as an umbrella science of the management and the economy. Why? Because when we talk about the growth of economy or the economic growth, when we talk about the risk management and when we talk about the crisis, we have to make an infrastructure from our globalization. The globalization give us the keywords or the key career path for our students and for our academia to know how to make more competition, how to reduce the cost, how to make accurate vendors, how to make accurate ROI. All of them are part of the infrastructure based on the technology. Uh, I can give you many factors here if you can read. We have risk factors, we have a potential cases, we have a potential effects. Most of them based on the supply chain risk management are talking about the economy, the policy, the regulations with many companies, with many countries. Uh, you know, as many crises today that we face, we have many regulation and instructions that face and make as a wall for the growth of communication and the growth to decline the idea of growth in the market for especially for the commerce or for the product. Um, I believe if we take this assessment for our risk, especially for the economy, especially for the technology and network operation, suppliers, the competitive industry, and you can make your relation and communication with your reduction cost without any change in the prices, without any change in the tariff, in the documentation and customs, and you can make safety and security in your insurance documents. So the idea today, again, if you can see this image or shape, we talk about the stability. When we talk about the supply chain risk management, we cannot say that we have stable situation on the whole points in the supply chain. You always have that dynamic situation, the dynamic situation based on the disruptions based on risk factors, economy, political, geopolitical, war. etc. So, if you talk about the stability situation and you are looking for a new stable situation during a period of time, you must talk about that you have to put more money and how much you put money on your market, to your company, to your business. You can get the stable situation, but it is not permanent, it's temporarily. This is the idea or most recent case study or the most recent literature review talk about that we cannot get the stable situation to our supply chain system approach because you cannot handle always the whole idea. Maybe you can handle your management. Maybe you can handle your budget. Maybe you can handle your fund, but you cannot handle the external factor. You know, the external factor always push up to face the problem that we cannot suddenly expected, and sometimes we cannot deal with it, and sometimes we lose our markets and lose our customers. That's what happened to many companies after and within the COVID or during the COVID-19 and after the COVID-19. So I believe that today, after the Ukrainian war and after the Red Sea crisis, the whole company, they are talking about the low cost strategy applied on the supply chain cost reduction. Can we make it? Can we make it as really one of the best strategy or something that we can use it permanently, that designed with our supply chain system to cost reduction? Can we make it in our market in inventory level? Can we make it in our trade finance organizations? Can we apply it as a needs, as a favorite, as a requirement uh, for our risk assessment and analyzing? Can we encourage the efforts to enhance the understanding, the real understanding of the supply chain gap between the suppliers, between the buyers, and between the transporter, and between the shipper, and between the markets? So sometimes we can believe as an academia and practical people from the field that we can apply the supply chain cost reduction to reduce the risk factor and the risk assessment. But to be honest and to talk about from our real life case study, you cannot uh, make it make your economy as stable as you want. And we have a product life cycle from introduction to growth to mature to used to be to have a big customer and market segmentation. No, this is not what we can find in the real life, especially in the Middle East markets. So sometimes we can grow in Egypt, but we cannot grow in the Gulf as a supply chain system. Even we use technology, even we use AI, even we use BI, even we use traditional supply chain system, all of them are not part of our traditional finance sector of economy stable. I believe again that for the importance of our supply chain risk management in maritime operation. Before I talk about the marine industry, I have to know three things. I have to tell you that here in Jordan, we care more about our marine industry because 90% of our shipping and products are based on marine industry and maritime operation. it is not any, and the 10%, but the percentage, it's only about the land and the air freight. So we have only one port, which is called Aqaba port. So we have that risk. So when we talk about the risk today in our supply chain system, from the supplier to the final port, do we think that, if I ask you, do we have a risk here in Jordan? Yes. Here you are in Egypt, you have three, right? Three ports, Port Said, Skanderia, and the other is what? I have to know. You have to
السخنة.
tell me. Zuhna? Yes. He,
Actually, يعني we have. Hi, Dr. Maha. How are you doing? First
how
of
are
all,
you, doctor? How are you?
it's really our pleasure to have you with us. Yes, actually, the main seaports we have Alexandria Port, Dekheila Port, Damietta, Port Said. We have two ports in Port Said East and Port Said West. In addition, we have another port in Sokhna, and there is another small ports around the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, such as Al Adabiya, Gargoub. We have a new container terminal in Abu Qir. So there are, but the main three are Port Said, Alexandria, and Damietta.
Yes, yes. For our trade system between Egypt and Jordan, we have Port Said and Aqaba. This is the trade system between two countries. I don't know if you know this information.
Yeah, the one with the Aqaba is Port Said. Yes, Port
Yes,
Said. I
only
think
Port
it's
Said. Yes, that's right.
mainly Port Said. That's correct.
Yes, yes, that's correct. So, um, firstly, when we talk about the supply chain risk management, I have to talk about the evolution of the supply chain risk management. Um, you know, when you read many books, it talks about that disruptions. The disruption can diverse factors. The factors from natural disaster, geopolitical events, economic events, and human behavior. So, as Dr. Maha, I believe always that the whole problem in our supply chain risk management based on two factors, the economy and human behavior, because it's not only about geopolitical event, it's only about as many many books we have read. Maybe my this is my opinion, but you know, when you are in field and you can read the numbers of errors and the faults that you face in your supply chain, and when you can see that many of companies are after 10 years or after 5 years, they're out of the market because of errors or wrong behavior of a human, you can say that supply chain risk management based on the economy factors and based on human factors. But you know, when we talk about the box and the risk management box and the recent literature review, they believe that the natural disaster and the geopolitical events, they are the most important factors that you know, that diverse the factors of the supply chain. I don't have really any recent percentage for which is one of them are the best uh, factors on the customer, on the strategies, on the sustainable competitive or advantage or a disadvantage. But you know, after many years in the academia and the field, you can say that your supply chain risk management aims to establish a sustainable competitive advantage to lean, agile, efficient, and customer strategies. This is the idea. Without any unexpected problem from the geopolitical event, without the economic inflection, without any human factor. You know why we are talking about that today? Because after the Ukrainian war, um, the goal was always to reduce the risk and improve the resilience of the supply chain. But during the COVID-19 and after the COVID-19, we will never talk about the reducing the risk. They never talk about how to enhance your resilience or your flexibility or your dynamic supply chain. During the COVID-19 and after the COVID-19, most of the recent case studies in the article were talking about how to make a relation between the threats, risk, and potential scenario and sequences in the future for your supply chain. This is the differentiation between the real case study of COVID-19 risk management and the Ukrainian war risk management. And which is, if you are talking about the analytical of the supply chain system, there's a huge gap between you are talking about um, something you can apply from its root, and something you cannot apply because you don't have that understanding, and you don't have that principle of the supply chain and the practices of the supply chain. This is the differentiation between the Ukrainian and the COVID-19. And again, I will talk about that. In COVID-19, we did not have that deep understanding of the principle of and practices of the supply chain risk management. This is the focuses idea. But after the COVID-19 and during on when we faced the Ukrainian war, uh, from its initial step, we find ourselves, especially in the Middle East, or we found that we have that understanding of supply chain risk management and aims to establish the sustainable competitive advantage to our lean, agile, and customer strategies, and make that relationship between the threats, risk, and potential scenario. Why do we have that? Because in the COVID-19, we cannot have the right component of the supply chain risk management. But after that, we understand we say that we emphasize the importance of how to be proactive in your supply chain system. So when you are proactive, you can understand, analyze, or based on that, you can identify, analyze your supply chain risk management component. Based on you have identification of the supply chain risk management, you have a modeling, you have a risk analysis, you have risk assessment, you have a measurement, you have a monitoring and evaluation for the whole component of your supply chain risk management. As I believe that we cannot do that in COVID-19 until now. So for that, one of the article took that the whole literature review and the whole case studies in the article during the COVID-19, based on many percentage that we talk about to our community, to our students, to our academia, they are not accurate. But they believe that the accuracy number of the component, the breakdown, the threats, the risk, the competitive, the agile, the lean of the that we face with the Ukrainian war, it's accurate. And we have, as an Arab board, to understand and re-study why in two different real world cases uh, that we have accuracy and we have a gap in the same domain. We are talking about the global trading on the supply chain. We are not out of the field, or we are talking about the different field or different concept or different approach. No, we are talking about how to enter the supply chain ecosystem. Okay. Do you have any question until now? Do you understand the whole thing?
I think that's okay. Anyone have
Okay.
any question?
I know I'm trying to make a basic information for you, not advanced level. So I am inshallah it's going يعني good for you. Okay. So when we talk today, I'm going back to talk about the maritime operation, or when we talk about the marine industry. As a commissioner of supply of Jordan Customs, one of the documentation that we play with it, it was a maritime operation documentations. So, you know, we face the risk in a global supply chain. We face a problem in our entire network of flowing of goods and services and information. We have a problem with the uncertainty. I remember that the news we're talking about always about the uncertainty of the supply chain. So if you talk about the uncertainty of the supply chain in the management and the economy, you know, you are talking in different concepts because uh, uncertainty supply chain in the management talks about the competitive business environment and how to find a fit, fit location, fit warehouse, fit market, fit customer within fit products. But when we talk about the uncertainty supply chain in the economy, when we talk about inflation, so the inflation, most of that, we are talking about what the performance, the financial performance of the organization. We are talking about the human-made disaster. We are talking about the economic policies. We are talking about the globalization. So you have to find always your outsourcing to find the new ways to reduce the supply chain risk management and the disruption. Um, Most of the supply chain system approach, you know, uh, when we talk about the developing of the approach of a risk management and a full scenario to our technical system or practical system. This is from a book I can share with you after this session, and it is one of the best supply chain risk management book. Talk about the character context that you make as a scenario to risk assessment. Initially, it talks about the workplace, organization, target, purpose, demand, resources, and supply chain. How to identify how you can, as a company, as a human, as a employee, can identify the risk, accident type, scenario, task, activities, personal disruptions, and you know, sometimes it talks about the failure models. It talks about the failure types. It talks about the policies, monitoring, evaluating, and communication, the long-term relation or short-term relation between vendors, suppliers, buyers, and the shipper. Um, this is I believe that this is one of the best shape that we can talk about until the morning, as we say, حتى الصباح. Here we have something about our chain. If you can see here, see here that the sequence chains talks about the monitoring of our final result. So if I have a problem within the point of the supply chain, I believe that if I have threats, risk, safety functions, I will face to enter the final result. But if we have an accidental event, and sometimes in the management, it's not about change management. Sometimes we call the concept crisis management. Uh, Crisis management happened accidentally, and you face it without any, it is not permanent, it's temporary. And unfortunately, you cannot heal the problem that the the accidental event, but based on the a change on the long term. So I want you to read something about the maritime transportation system. Um, Here's something about the challenge that we face to our identification modeling, so the risk, the assessment, to evaluate the impact. You have as a students to understand the score or the scope of the importance of the maritime transportation, because here in the Arab world or the Middle East, we are sometimes make that misunderstanding of how the supply chain can be highly independent, with highly quality management involving the knowledge of maritime industry. The maritime industry transformation has the ability, the knowledge, the experience, and the skills. So after that, if we cannot understand the involving of knowledge, skills, experience, skills, both of them as the cycle with high quality management to our supply chain risk management, so we can find the challenge in our cargo. Cargo what? Cargo delivery. So the cargo delivery here today in our supply chain associated with something that in modern supply chain, this is this is a weird thing, because when you talk about you face now a cargo delivery challenges in modern supply chain, after the whole technology infrastructure, after the efficient movement of goods, from point A to point zero, from origin of country's destination to the final destination, after the understanding of the challenges, from professional people in the field, you can provide that we do not have the basic of the management and the supply chain. I want you to open the discussion with me to understand why do we have that breakdown to the key components of our supply chain risk management. Do you know why? If you have any idea. Do you have any idea why?
I think that maybe about the, as you say, that before COVID, no one think about the risk management and supply chain. After COVID, they are more think about the risk management,
Mm,
uh, how can it work and how it manage the risk already, and with many types and risk and uncertainty exactly.
Again. So what do you think? Thank you, Omar. Who can give me the accurate answer? Do you know why? It's easy. It's shortcut words or keywords. You know why? Okay.
Dr. Maha, we can give you the authority to give students some bonus marks in case if they replied correctly. So you have the list and you have all their names. So you just you can
You,
pick one of these participants and ask them directly. So there is another way of to know who is
no,
following
I
up
want
one.
you. I want them to to like my lecture. No, this is really an important thing. This it was a breakdown because you know, unfortunately, Jerry, we have something called or the concept now. Uh, it's not about the uncertainty of supply chain. يعني it's not about عدم اليقين في سلاسل التوريد
Hmm.
because the uncertainty it's more a finance concept. يعني هي مرتبطة أكثر بالمصطلحات المالية ولكن based on our supply chain it's about the disruption to the supply chain of goods and service. This is the answer. So when we talk about the cargo delivery challenge, now it's raised up from disruptions in the supply chain, goods or service, and include, and involved with the delay in the manufacturing, transportation breakdown, or poor quality. That leads to downtime. So if you want to talk about the accurate answer for that, we need to emphasize the proactive approach to our supply chain risk management to anticipate the disruption, to understand the risk resource. So today, as students and academia people, we have to always study the risk source. The risk source based on its assessment, analytical, identify. Why? To know the behavior of individual and organization within the supply chain. If we do that, we can help our organizations. If we do that by step one, step two, step three, we can help our countries. Jordan and Egypt, both countries they have the best global trade to other, especially importing and exporting. So the cargo delivery challenges that we face more and often arise from the disruptions in the supply chain goods, it's only about the risk source because we underestimate it. We do not consider the risk source. So after 10 years, we will find that we have that price in the market that we significant that we not face for the business involve the cargo delivery, that we don't have the right to price that meet our needs of raw material or finished goods. And this is the difficult thing for companies to change to the customer. That even we talk about that our buyers and our market and our country, markets and companies that they have the highest profit margin by to get their financial stability. But I believe even they care more about that, they cannot highlight it or highlighting the need for the effective pricing strategies and the risk mitigation measurement. If you want, I will re-answer the question, but I believe that you understand that, right? You have any question for that or not?
Yeah,
This is the most.
yeah, indeed, it's very important when it comes to the financial impact. That is related to the risk or to supply chain to the supply chain risk impact, as it costs a lot if you did not recognize and evaluate the real case that might be vulnerable for the future. Today we can say, yeah, it's normal, don't worry, we will go fine, we will not have any stock outs, we will not have any barriers in the production, for instance. But all of a sudden, with very small trigger, as it happening now in the Red Sea, all the supply chain, all the lead times have been increased. The lead time increased more than 30 days, maybe more or less, or something like that, which affected many industries, affected the prices, affected the level of service. So it's very harsh situation, to be honest. People are living very the worst critical supply chain condition or supply chain situation these days. Shipping lines are paying double and triple for the freight rates. We have some experts from the MSC here, but I think MSC was not that aggressive as the CMA CGM did. Because maybe this will I think that is one of the good customer service or customer care about these shipping lines. MSC, all of a sudden, we woke up in the morning and they raised their freight rates by 160%. So
And they did very
imagine
well.
impact. Yes, imagine the impact on the consignees. Imagine the impact on all the stakeholders. Prices are higher than they are expected. Who are going to pay the bill? The customers. That will affect the demand. Yes, indeed, it's very critical situation. I hope we can pass it in a minimal level of damages, but still, I totally agree with you. It's not only the risk impact or the risk issue, it's the consequences and financial consequences, or the financial impact is absolutely the most horrible and nightmare these days.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Doctor, for your knowledge. I'm going to talk about something about the COVID-19 impact on the supply chain. It's about highlighted the global supply chain, that change of your traditional supply chain to make it more a real-time monitoring and predictive analytics. This is what happened after the COVID-19 supply chain. And again, when we talk about the era of COVID-19, we talk about the risk sharing, we talk about the continuous assessment, we about the scenario planning, and about the crisis response protocols, about the lesson that we learned, and should guide us the ongoing improvement of our supply chain risk management and the innovation and to get the resilience. Um, there is something about I care more about to my students when I'm talking about the global supply chain risk management. That we have always to improve the enhancing to our competitive advantage and to cost reduction to select of the suppliers. This is unfortunately, I believe that here in Jordan, we cannot do that. Until now, we cannot make that selectivity of the suppliers to cost reduction. We have a problem. I believe it is from 20 years, the past 20 years, and until now, that if I know, for example, Dr. Ahmed or Dr. Omar from 10 years or 20 years, so I built with them a long-term relationship, and it was a good, there is a profit, there is a good movement for products, good service without any problem. So I cannot deal with another suppliers. This is the most problem that we face with all of the people, especially here in the airport in Jordan, that the selection of the suppliers based on poor quality today, and it's not about the cost reduction. You cannot say if I pay more, I will get high quality. This is not. It's talk about, or it talks about the amount, how to collect huge quantities to do not lose your market. So maybe I pay more with poor quality, but with huge quantities. This is, this make you as a poor market, increase the risk, leading your supply chain to disruptions without understanding the market. So we lose the market here in Jordan, here in the Gulf, here in the many of countries. But based on that, many of buyers here and many of shippers and many of manufacturers believe that if we have a good quality, not the highest quality, and with minimum price, not highest price, and I can deal with the market with cost reduction and with flexibility and get the advantage of our global supply chain to enhance the competitive advantage. This is the problem in the market and the marketing. It's not our problem in the supply chain, but our problem when our in supply chain, it's only about the suppliers. And until now, I believe that the assessment for quality, the checklist of the suppliers is not based on the highest measurement that meets the needs and the requirements for our customer. Because that the defining of the global supply chain risk, not only about the natural disaster or the pandemic or the health crisis, it talks about, poor quality product or service. It lead to customer that you are reaching customer. This is the traditional thing that we face here in Arab world. Is it if it is poor quality, you can reach customers. I don't know why we have that traditional concept until now in 2024, which is a kidding or mocking now that we have that we will have a future revenue, a potential leading to a foreign market and global market with our financial claim, that the importance today only to quality control and measurement through the supply chain. It's not only about how to have your poor quality with reduction cost and leading the time. You have to care more about your reputation to your of the firm, and which is influenced by many of various factors. The failure, of protocol, the failure of controlling your quality control of the supply chain can affect, the perspective of your organization or the public image of your organization or your country, or sometimes it can damage your reputation. And you can lose your trust of customer loyalty and market. So the supply chain here, risk management, even we talk about the natural disasters, sometimes such as earthquake, floods, when we talk about the pandemic such as COVID-19 and the other labor disease, when we talk about the technology failure, we are talking about today about the digital supply chain and how to use the artificial intelligence and how to use business intelligence as operational infrastructure to our approach system for our supply chain. But it's not only the idea about the communication or communicate the network between your supplier and customer and your operational and functional employees. Sometimes you cannot automate it your process. You cannot be part of the automation. You cannot be part of your technology based on the operational field. Not only the whole field, or sometimes not all the fields can be part of that digitalization, not cannot be part of the automation process. Because if we part of technology operational process, maybe you will be out of the quality. And sometimes when you use a manual process, you will get the quality of your supply chain without any delays, and to save your company reputation. I want you to talk about. I want to talk about my book. It talks about smuggling and re-exporting process.
Mm.
It's about التهريب في عمليات إعادة التصدير. This is in Arabic. It's only in English. In English, when we are talking about smuggling, okay, technology unfortunately helps uh, helps the buyers to make a re-exporting process, and to get smuggling, and to get the financial profit margin, and to reduce the it's not reduced, to recover anything can face it with the country, with the policy of the country or the law of the country, and he gets millions of dollars after this gap in the technology. So when we talk about the operational risk, this was one of the operational risk we find in one of the public institute, and unfortunately, the technology system helped smuggler to get million or millions. It was not million, and without any risk on them, without any follow up, without any documentations, because sometimes if you lose the data like that, you delete the data, so you don't have any evidence. So dear, sometimes when you read more about your customs and as a general policies for them, they talk more about that the operational risk by using technology can help you to reduce many risk, which is not in real world cases. No, it's not real. It's not real. It's sometimes it's fake. So this is the idea for our financial risk, that the cost of raw materials sometimes it's not real in the documentations, not real or our transportation documentation. Sometimes for that payment, or when we talk about the financial risk, we always talk about between the relation between the suppliers and the buyers, and if the buyers has that delay in not payment for the supplier, so we will have that problem in using and reaching and receiving the final product to our final port and final warehouses. Uh, you know, we will talk about many of the policies about our supply chain disruptions, and how the disruptions of supply chain can increase the cost. But I believe when we talk something like cybersecurity can, uh, help our company from damage its reputation, but we cannot help our company not having that not saving or securing our data from payment or data loss. You know why we don't have that problem? Because sometimes students, the analytical of our supply chain relation between the threat and risk has has that degree of with needs. When we talk about the description of our supply chain in different field, you have to present the understanding and the idea of using your supply chain in the banking sector, in the marine sector, for example, on manufacturing sector, without any impact of measurement. But today, we don't have a knowledge transfer. This is one of the problem. We don't have accurate business performance outcome to implement solution. So I'm working alone. And we are requiring judging more without giving any solutions, without the implementation. So today, the cybersecurity and the technology and the financial risk, you can evaluate it, but without find any solution to sit and interacting, as we say in the one of the recent supply chain risk book. It talks about the interacting of active of the supply chain, which means that if I have the proactive in managing risk before they occur, acknowledging, it may be possible to identify the risk in technology, in financial sector, and resolve it, all potential risk in advance and in the future. This is the idea of the whole supply chain risk management. We can say about the information, communication, relationship, entire supply chain. We have to talk more about the comprehensive of packaging of service product in the marketplace. We have to care more about the technical service, financial service, and marketing and sales support element in the supply chain mix. We have to care more about the expectations of the quality of supplied resources. As we said before, that we care more about the risk sources, security, and responsive to find a new way in the supply chain disruption. And thank you for your invitation and everything.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور مها، والله it's very interesting. يعني موضوع جميل، ويعني انا شخصيا حاسس يعني ان هو لا، هو مش محتاج سيشن، لا محتاج سيريز اوف سيشنز يعني. ويعني وبرضه احنا بنبارك لك على الكتاب الرائع بتاع الذكاء الاصطناعي في سلاسل التوريد او في سلاسل الامداد. فعلا لازم نشتغل على الارض.